Today we are going to be going over the FM1000 display. Across the top you will see three tabs. System information, that has to do with what your current version of firmware is. The serial number of the display, part number, how many storage megabytes are available. Also what systems you're communicating with. For example, we have an Easy Steer plugged in here, and giving you current information on the GPS receiver, as well as if you're subscribing to OmniStar. This is where you come to get the OmniStar ID number right here across the bottom line there. The other tab on this screen is the camera tab. If you were to just be using the display to display an ag cam, this is the tab you go to see your image of whether you're on a grain cart or combine or whatever you're wanting to look at there. Some other tabs on this screen: data files. This is where you would go if you want to move your field data, yield data, any configuration files or diagnostics. But basically for you, we'll be using it to transfer your field data, yield data over to the USB drive. And when you plug in a USB drive, you can highlight the different fields that you would like to transfer over. You can also take the data from the USB drive and import it into the display on this page also. So if we plug in a USB drive here, you can see now that we got the USB drive plugged in, you can see the different files on the USB drive. So you could go into field data, and you could go into a certain client or farm name or whatever you need to do to transfer over your files, or vice versa. The other way is when you want to take your files from the display. If you go to field data, or let's say yield data for example, and you hit copy, it is now sending your yield data over to the USB drive. And depending on how many fields you have, or how much memory you have on the display, it'll lengthen your time or shorten your time depending on how much data you're transferring over. And you'll get the hourglass for a little bit here. Copy successful. Hit the OK button. And you can see that it copied over my Low and Young files right here. So that is the purpose of this page. Your configuration files, your implements, or your different tractors, you could copy those configurations onto a USB. I would highly suggest doing that. You have three other icons across the top of the screen. You see the house icon. That is the home page where we are currently at. You see the wrench icon, which is where you go into to do all of your configuration, to add and remove whatever you need to set up. If you have row guidance you want to add, if you have yield monitoring you want to add, notice it'll tell you it needs to be unlocked first. Or Fuel IQ, you just hit the add button and add it over for whatever plug-in for whatever implement you're setting up currently. If you don't need it, you can remove it and take it off. That is the purpose. You can see all the many different possibilities of drain management. Here's your ISOBus task controller, a virtual terminal. There's your vehicle sync, office sync. If you need to run cameras, you will need to add this over if you want to view your cameras while you're in the field. If you don't need it, you can move it back over. So that is the purpose of this page, depending upon which implement you have. And whichever implement you have set up, it will tell you, for example, if I were to move the Field IQ over, it would tell you underneath implement that Field IQ is with that implement on this screen. So you would know what's going on. To start at the top here, underneath this configuration, we went into the tools originally. If we go to system, that is the display settings itself there. If we go into setup, we will get a list of the different display setup options that you have. Data files, if you go to manage, that looks very familiar in that that's exactly where we were before to transfer information, just another way to get there. Or if you need to delete data, this is where you would go also. Next one down is map settings. And go to setup to go into it. And you can see you have a vehicle up for map orientation. You could also change that to north up if you would like. So your screen would always be displaying north to the upward side of the screen. Color scheme, you can change to night mode if you would like to. And you can see how the screen changed, so it's easier to see at night. It's not as bright for your eyes. If you want to change it back, you just go into setup and hit the down arrow and go back to default and hit the OK button, or you can go into custom setup. This next one is called status items. This one is important to you because it is going to display on the run screen. So it is going to display certain items that you choose while you're in the field. So across the top of your field, when you have a field open, you may like having the offline distance. You may like that to display on your field when you're in the field. Another one you may like in your field is maybe you like speed to view. So that is going to be on your regular run screen when you have a field opened across the top. This next tab over is info screen, and you can see I've got some items in there already. On the left hand side, when we open a field, you will see information tab, and that's where all of this information is going to be. So you can add in whatever you want. You highlight it here, and whichever column you want to put it in, you can put it in there. If you don't want it there, you go to a different one and highlight it and set it there. So whatever you want, this will display field area. That'll display just the event coverage, what you're doing currently. Session coverage would be like for a day or multiple different fields, or kind of what you want to set up there, but pretty much for a day, from when you power on the screen to power down. Your implement width, the nudge if you've moved it left to the right or not. The middle column here has your client, farm, field, event name in it. And right now the right hand column, I have satellites, offline distance, latitude and longitude. You can scroll down in this list and see there are many different possibilities. You could have your swath number in there if you would like to. Event information, storage, your implement, you could put your implement width in there, or just your plain implement in there if you would like. You have it set where you need it, you just hit the OK button. and that'll take you back to this screen. Language and units should be set to English, feet, and inches for where we're at. Default settings, if you were to hit the restore button, you would restore back to the factory defaults for the display. The next item down is feature mapping. If you go into setup, and you see a couple things on this screen. One thing to note, this record line with coverage, if you have this as applied line, it's going to record like a white line along with your regular AB line. This may mess you up if you do like a headlamp pattern or some of your different patterns. You want to leave that to none unless you're told otherwise. Features. You can see on here we got 4 different features that you can mark in your field. If you want to change what each feature represents, you tap it, and you could change a hole from a hole to a pest, and hit OK, and our feature changed to a pest. Mapping location is another important one. So when you map a point feature, it's going to drop the mark at the center of the boom. You can also change it to the left or the right. More times than not, I'm guessing you'll want it in the center. Line area features in the boom center also. You can also change it to the right or left if you need to also. That's the purpose of that. Data dictionary. This has to do with the data set up in your field. So you have the client farm field, and you can see we have different field names in there, and your different events. So this is the information it'll keep for you when you're in the field. Operator information, vehicle, implement, width, method, even weather information if need be. The light bar setup has to do with a light bar across the top of the screen when you open the field. And if you go into setup, it gives you a look ahead time. If you're manually driving, 1 second is a good general rule of thumb to start out at. LED spacing, so right now one LED light, if it's lit up, represents 6 inches. So if you have one LED to the right, you would be 6 inches to the right of your line. You can change the brightness if you need be. The other thing you want to pay attention to is the mode, and depending on how you like to react to the lights, you can chase the lights, drive towards them, or you can pull away from the lights, whichever you personally prefer. And that's pretty much what you need to mess with there. Easy remote, you could add the easy remote to this display. I do not have one plugged in right now, and you would go into there to set up the different functions on the easy remote if you have one. Guidance. If we go into the guidance setup, you will see limit field selection, auto steering lockout enabled. Curve smoothing is disabled. That'll reduce in the smoothing of sharper curves if you want. It gives you a warning angle for the tight turn, 90 degrees, which is a pretty sharp turn. If you enable the curve smoothing, you can see where the smooth turn radius would be set at. That is the radius of the curve it'll go. So it might be a wider curve than what you would really want, depending upon what you're doing in the field. Headlands option here, you can currently it's set on AB. You could align the infield to the nearest edge too. Typically we've been leaving this on AB.